back. Yeah! So yeah, this is should white parents adopt children of color? Is this a spectrum? Maybe. It does not say. I'm assuming it's spectrum though. No. Yeah, it looks like it. So let's see. Starting in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to this episode of Spectrum.
Thank you so much to CuriosityStream for sponsoring this episode.
CuriosityStream is an amazing subscription streaming platform that has tons of great films from documentary nonfiction filmmakers from around the world.
And you have to check it out, so make sure to click the link below and stick around until the end to find out how you can get 30 days free.
But for now, the episode.
I grew up in a very rural town in Illinois. From a young age, I was just very opposed to being Asian. I'd lie. I'd say, oh yeah, my parents got divorced. One of them's half. I'm half. I don't really look half, but whatever.
Why wouldn't she want to be Asian? Hell, I want to be Asian. Smart as hell.
Stereotype.
Call it what you want to, Mark. Ain't offensive.
I was in the foster system, so I kind of knew I was going to be adopted, and I wasn't adopted till I was 17, so it's a little older than younger.
I mean, I was adopted when I was like 7 months, so my parents told me before I even could understand, and I feel that's what all parents should do, because if you get older and you don't know and then you figure out, that can really take a mental toll on you.
I found out when I was adopted at an early age because my parents are white. How could I not know? How could I not know I was adopted? And growing up on Long Island, I dealt with a lot of racism, like even in like first grade, like people calling me like chink and gook. So I realized that obviously I was different. I would go home and I would ask my parents, like, what does this mean? Like, what is a chink? And they would have to talk to me about it.
I'm also a transracial adoptee, so it was very obvious. On top of that, I also grew up in Olympia, Washington, which is very white. It wasn't strange to talk about adoption. They were always very open about that, and I'm very grateful for that because, again, I do know people who were not told they were adopted, and, you know, it just tears the world apart.
That's fucked up. To not tell them.
People be waiting until they deathbed.
I'm gonna tell you shit. I would assume. Why wouldn't you?
I don't know. I guess maybe some of these parents either some of these self-conscious fears or like community or them worrying about the child's like psyche.
Go find a real parent or some shit like that too. Or something?
Yeah, that too. Or maybe you have more questions about them or some shit. It's like a million different variables.
I would assume that they would. I would assume that you would want to tell the person at least, or tell them.
Yeah, I would assume it make it easier.
Yeah, it ain't just making it easier though. Like, cause eventually the child is like, just like I guess like the Asian kid, even though he had a bad experience because they was calling him chink and shit. Like, eventually the child is gonna want to know who the fuck they are. Where they come from and type shit like that. Like that's even like for a regular child, like just trying to find their place in the fucking world type shit. Like
especially
they gonna ask questions.
Yeah, especially if they like there's no person that looks like them in that like that spectrum. Their relationship or whatever. So
starting at 3, 2, 1.
It's just more personal issues, like family dynamics that we haven't really gotten along. It's never been like, I don't like you because you're adopted. None of that has ever been brought up. It's just side issues, and as I get older, I really distance myself from them because as I'm becoming my own person, my views of the world and what I believe in are drastically different than theirs. So I think that's where our relationship has kind of proven to be a lot more distant.
My adoptive dad passed away about 7 years ago. I had a really great relationship. You know, he was the person who raised me, taught me, you know, how to be a good person. Me and my older brother, I think we kind of bounce around it, but I think the reason why we're not as close as brothers should be is because we're two adopted people.
I mean, every family's gonna have problems, but for them literally taking me in when I'm not theirs and they really have no responsibility to me, and they've given me a life, they've helped me go through college. I've always felt kind of bad to either
Especially if she
speak
got
my
adopted
mind
at
compared to
fucking
my
17.
sister, who's like their biological kid. And even though I know if I spoke my mind, they wouldn't say anything about me being adopted, but because they've like done so much for me, I subconsciously just felt bad bringing stuff up and talking about it because I was just so grateful.
Yeah, I agree. I have a very good relationship with my parents. Could it be better? Absolutely. Despite our differences and despite some things that happened, they would die for me and that they've sacrificed so much for me. That phrase, blood is thicker than water, I'm like, what? No. Like, just look at people who are adopted. Like, they're my family. I don't even use the word adopted parents. Like, that's insulting to me. Like, they're just my parents.
It's probably insulting as fuck to them too.
Is it what?
I said that's probably insulting as hell to them too.
Yeah.
Like, don't call me an adopted parent, bro. Well, I guess I don't know, because it wasn't like nothing too drastic on why that they don't get along with their adopted parents and other shit like that. Like, it didn't seem like it was no type of fallout. Like she was saying, like she's just trying to figure herself out and shit like that and find out new shit about herself.
And
that's the only reason she kind of falling out with them.
Yeah, that and like she said beliefs and like I guess their personal like social stuff.
That's
too.
also
So
the reason why you should probably tell the child that they're adopted, because they might think they belong to a whole other religion or some type of shit like that, or like.
Yeah, you
like
want to
anything,
like open
like
up
a
the
subgroup of people or something like
gates.
that. Like, it's a whole reason that you should tell people shit like that. But it's not to get into it too much.
I guess for like a long time, I had no idea who they were. And, you know, the only thing I really got was like papers and like, you know, stuff my mom said. And so what I found out was my mother developed a opioid addiction. Even when I was in the womb, she was drinking, you know, Hennessy. The reason why I'm at somewhat disagree and not strongly disagree is because there's still a sense of wanting.
Questions.
Because I have no reference to say, you know, you're my mother.
For me, I don't feel like I'm missing anything. Like, I feel like if you share DNA, that doesn't mean that they love you. I'm not like mad at my birth parents for like giving me up, because I feel like they did it for like giving me a better life, and for that, like, I'm grateful. And my adoption was closed, so I've never like seen or like been able to meet or talk, and like I feel like that's fine.
I just want to emphasize, for my adoption, I was actually taken away by the government.
Yeah.
So she didn't
It's just
voluntarily
different.
put me in the foster unit. Just wanted to emphasize that.
I was in the foster system too, and my situation is a little different and not like a lot of foster kids, because I was put in the system when I was 13. And I grew up with my mom my whole life, and at that point I knew she was not fit to be a mother. She was abusive, she was toxic. Would I go back and see my mom? No, I'm not ready, at least right now, because I've had to deal with a lot of therapy dealing with PTSD from her. My bio dad also had a drug addiction. He got deported, and he didn't reach out to me till I was 13 years old and said, sorry, I forgot about you. So I kind of just gave up on that, especially when I had this amazing family adopt me and showed me that they didn't care that I was the only Mexican in a big family full of Jews. They didn't care that I looked different, that I had to go to therapy, and that I had to deal with all these things, because no matter what, I still contributed to the family, and they still treated me the exact same way that they treated their daughter. So, yeah.
It really wasn't until actually just a few years ago that I decided I'm actually ready to reach out to my birth family, and I had a closed adoption. So it was very, very hard to track down all this information, and you know, agencies are closed after 27 years and all this stuff. But I did eventually find her on Facebook, and we have reached out. We talk on the phone now, so we have like kind of a basic communication. I kind of realized that I kind of felt fulfilled. I didn't really feel like I needed to do a whole lot more. I think eventually down the line, once I get the rest of my life together, I will like to go down there, you know, meet them and meet all my siblings and all that stuff. But right now, I kind of feel okay.
This is a really unusual case. My birth father actually reached out to me through the agency. Maybe if he didn't, maybe I wouldn't be on this line, but once he reached out to me, it did make me curious about Korea. And then once I learned the Korean language, I was like, all right, like I really want to get to know these people.
See, it's different things because, like, I understand, because I forgot what the first girl had said, but the other two pretty much got taken away or the case is. Yeah. But I would understand, like, she says, like, she's still going through fucking therapy and shit right now. Got PTSD and shit, so I understand why she wouldn't be, but I also understand why she probably reached out, because it's certain things that you want to know. Like, you don't, like, it's not even always that they want to know, like, why did you give me up? It's just like, what was the situation and shit like that. And, like, it's just kind of like figuring out stuff about yourself and shit like that. I would understand that. And if they do have a type of relationship, they don't have that type of relationship like, I have to call you mom now, or some shit like that. Like, we could probably just be cool, talk from time to time and shit like that. Like, of course you're my birth parent and shit like that, but yeah, at the same time you're not the one who raised me, type shit. So it just all depends most of the time. It just depends on like the situation or how the case is.
Yeah, it does, cause it's really interesting, like hearing like the perspective on that, and I kind of relate to them a little bit, but not so much as like I'm adopted part, but like my biological father, in a sort of sense. Like there was a time where I needed to like I wanted to know and wanted to like meet him and stuff like that. You know, and it's just like, you know, like it could just be like small stuff. It don't have to be anything like that. You know, it's just like what you were saying, like trying to figure yourself out and shit, like certain things that you have or tics or
why do I have this anger problem or some shit?
Yeah,
like
just like little small shit. Like, okay, so like, why am I so interested in this? Like, just like little shit like that, like get your gears turning and shit. So I can understand that willingness to like want to learn, like what made you like a complete person, like kind of like what elements, like these unknown elements that made you as a person. Yeah. So I can understand that.
Starting in 3, 2, 1.
Why'd you walk it like that?
Growing up, I would have been strongly agree. I was literally the only black person in my town, so I had no reference of what black people were doing or what black culture was. And I did go through a lot of the, oh, you talk like a white girl, you're an Oreo, or you don't know every Tupac song, so you're not black enough. Like all those kind of stereotypes of what black people are supposed to be. But for me, that just kind of pushed me to learn more about black culture and read up on our history and all that.
Because I'm white, I didn't face what you guys face, but I was also adopted from Russia. Because I was told from a young age that I was adopted, I got to celebrate my Russian culture and heritage.
I started at strongly agree, and then you mentioned struggle is in the present, and that's what's happening now. I grew up in a very rural town in Illinois. From a young age, I was just very opposed to being Asian. I was opposed to being Chinese. I didn't really suffer from racism really, which I feel very like blessed and lucky for, but I still like struggled with myself. I was like, I don't like being Chinese. I'd lie. I'd say, oh yeah, my parents got divorced. One of them's half. I'm half. I don't really look half, but whatever. And then it wasn't until high school, like my sophomore year, I was like, I need to get really connected with my culture because it feels like there's a part of me still missing. And there will always be a part of me missing until I actually discover that.
I wanted to know if I guess not, but I was wondering if like one of the adopted parents probably sat them down and tried to teach them about their heritage and shit too.
Oh yeah, that would have been a nice
but I'm
follow-up question.
I'm just assuming nobody did it though. Case is because they didn't put that in there for the case is. I thought that would probably be dope as hell because like old girl just said she's from fucking Russia. I would never have guessed that, even just
never
looking at her.
Yeah.
I would never have guessed that, and I was just that's a whole nother. That's not even like maybe these people were born in America. In the case is, but that's from a whole nother fucking country. So yeah, but like we've been saying this whole time, just like finding out about yourself, like you would want to like even if you know you're adopted or not know if you're adopted, because eventually that if you don't know you're adopted. I think a switch will flip. Like something ain't right. That's what I'm assuming. I'm just assuming. I'm guessing. Like,
whole.
Yeah, like you would assume, like man, like especially with all these like DNA tests and shit like that, heritage tests and shit, like based off your saliva and hair and all this type of shit. Like you might want to turn that motherfucker in. Like I know everything about me damn near, and I still want to turn one of the motherfuckers in just to find out more shit.
Mm-hmm.
So I would only assume, like, if you don't know shit, or if the case is, you just intrigued about finding more about yourself, especially if you know that you're adopted, or what the case is. But yeah, that's all I got. I was just hoping like one of the parents or adopted parents would probably set them down and like explain to like this is why you're different. If you
sit
want,
down, let me teach you about Black history.
I take that back now. I take that back down. Never mind. But no. It would depend though too. It would depend though too. Like if they're teaching them like the shit that's not in the fucking textbook too.
Yeah, like if
they teaching them
if
like
they
the
teaching
real
them
shit,
like culture,
not the
thing
that's in these fucking textbooks that tell half-ass stories. Of case is half-ass tales. Because half the shit is myth and shit like that, low key. But that's what I would. That's just something I guess that I would do personally if I was to adopt what the case is. Like especially if I'm adopting probably like an Asian kid or whatever the case is. Like somehow we're gonna have to
learn.
Yeah, we're gonna have to learn their culture. But I have to teach you your culture. I have to learn it myself. Then I have to learn your language, and you also have to learn your own language. Because at the same time, you're growing up, you're getting the same dialect that I'm getting. So you're learning English because that's all I'm speaking to you. So when you get old enough, we have to learn together your origins and shit like that. But also then we have to input your culture and like the holidays and like all the celebrations and all that type of shit. We also have to indulge that. just because we want to make you as whole to yourself, and like it's just like a learning process. Like you want to be able to like teach this person as much as you can about like themselves. Like I don't want to say just to make them comfortable for the cases because they probably already comfortable in the situation that they are, but like eventually like you're gonna want to know more. And that's just what I think. I take that with a little bit of everything though. Starting it at 3, 2, 1.
It's just personal issues with me not having that blood connection to anyone. But if the adoption scenario ever came up, I would definitely not be opposed to it. It's just right now, I would want my own kids if I had them.
A part of me wants to do that as well. I want to have my own child. But then another part of me, I want to be able to get kids that are grown and that they're like 10 years old and their whole life has been horrible and I'm the one that's going to give them a second chance. But that's only because of what I went through.
You can do both, absolutely. But also for me, I don't want to adopt out of obligation of feeling like I need to adopt because I'm an adoptee. That doesn't create a healthy environment either where like I feel like I had to adopt. I've always kind of teetered on this line, and until I personally figure out what works best for me, I'm just nothing's coming over here for a while.
Would you adopt?
Would I adopt? That's a good question. I would say I probably would if I couldn't. Well, I ain't planning on having no more kids no way, so.
My answer is hell no, only because I don't want no
more kids. Yeah. But going to like your question, like if like.
I'm gonna be
besides the fact that we don't want no more kids, but
I promise you that I'm gonna be a great grandparent. Yeah, bring the baby on though. As long as you keep taking this little motherfucker back. Yeah, but if I was in a situation where I couldn't have kids or something like that, I probably would.
I probably would have too. Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with it. Like, the question is like,
probably at what age and shit
what
like
age
that,
and stuff.
Like
yeah, because you know the most popular thing is like
get the baby
newborns.
Shit, and you can teach them whatever they want to teach them.
It's like newborns and shit.
Are probably the worst because they probably run away and attitude and all that blase, I guess stereotypical type shit, whatever the case is. Oh yeah. Start again at 3, 2, 1.
Be mindful when it comes to cross-racial or cross-cultural adoption.
You just talked about that.
3, 2, 1.
God damn.
Ran over there.
I think mindful is like a good word to use. Just because your parents are different race doesn't mean that they like love you any less or anything like that. Like, they should be mindful and take into consideration that you will have like a more difficult time trying to like navigate and stuff like that, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't adopt in different races.
When you're adopting a child and you're taking them into your home, no matter what race they are, you still, I feel like, as an adoptive parent, have a responsibility to kind of connect them to their culture. Just acknowledge it, you know? I don't think that you'd be like, you need to like go to Dia de los Muertos because you're Mexican. Like, no, if you want, you can. Just know it's something that your culture does.
I feel that I've kind of went through an identity crisis, especially over the last few years as I'm trying to connect with my culture. I was completely unaware. I was very ignorant to it. And I regret that because I could feel a lot more confident in myself. But because I kind of had to do it on my own because my parents didn't do that, it's been a lot harder to identify with like white, Asian, like where am I in the spectrum of this? I wish they would have just like helped me embrace the culture a little more rather than look at me as a little child going, I hate being Asian, and they just laugh and go, ha ha ha, because again, they've never experienced that in their life, so they don't understand.
I feel like mindful is a very kind of coddly term for it. For me, I was called the N-word when I was literally a child. I had people come up and to me and pet me like I was in a petting zoo. I've gotten spit on, I've gotten all kinds of things, and I couldn't go to my family because they don't know anything. They're white, they were privileged enough to never, ever have to think about these things. But there's a whole nother set of things that come along with raising children of color. You have to be willing to put your life on the line for your child of color. It's not, oh, they didn't mean it like that. Oh, they're just from the older generation, they don't understand. No, like, those are the kind of responses I still get to this day, and it has literally ruined relationships in my family because they're so uncomfortable just talking about racism. You're no longer a white family, you're a family of multiple races. Embrace all of it, and it's time to just put the color blind bullshit aside and really get down to these issues because it is literally killing people, and to me it's just not tolerant at all.
That was great. I'm gonna move on to this line over here.
Big thank you to our adoptees for having this conversation and teaching.
Yeah, they ain't gonna talk about shit. Yeah, see, that's exactly why I said as an adoptee parent, or whatever the case is, whatever the fuck the term is, that's why you should sit your child down, talk to them, research, learn their culture, like learn everything that you need to learn, and teach them at the same time, whatever the case is, because shit like that can happen, and that's even fucked up that she's still going through that shit till this day. Like, I would have, like, I don't know, I can't remember, she said she had a good relationship with her foster parents, or whatever the fuck the case is still, but that right there,
that's a rocky road with me.
Would have deterred the fuck out of me from the motherfuckers. I would have stayed the fuck away from them. So, like, y'all are, like, literally turning a blind eye to, like, the shit that's right in your motherfucking face. So, we would have had a motherfucking problem if that was the case. But that's pretty much everything that we even just talked about before that even question was even asked or brought up, or what the case is. Good?
Yeah.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and also hit that bell to get notified
Yep.
This is the DADS podcast. Make sure you tell all your friends about us. Make sure you share us everywhere. Clip us because we want to get rich and we want you guys to help us get rich. So, you know, if you like this video, niggas trying to go full-time YouTube. But yeah, this is DADS podcast. Make sure to follow all our social media networks, DADS podcast, and for Twitter, 2dads with Dreads. And remember, if you like this video, subscribe, like, hit the bell. Do whatever the fuck other dumb shit that YouTube make you do to fucking stay up to date with us. Because they keep changing it every week. Every week is an update. So yeah.
Just stalk us on our social media.
Just stalk the shit out of us. Be like my ex. We out of here.